Welcome back, everyone, to Cliffhangers and Page Turners, episode 31. Hope you had a good week. Maybe got some reading done amidst everything.
We definitely did. We tackled a real heavyweight this time.
Yeah, a classic that's, incredibly symbolic, pretty heavy going in places, but just absolutely grabs you. Now, before we dive into the, the mood of 17th century Boston, just a quick thing. If you're enjoying these book discussions, maybe the plot twists, definitely hit that subscribe button. We've got new episodes coming out every Friday on all the usual podcast places.
But remember the full back catalog, all the older episodes, they're only up on YouTube.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about a letter. A single letter that basically shapes an entire life, maybe multiple lives.
We're jumping into Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really so much more than just, a story about adultery. It's this intense look at guilt, secrets, shame.
And how it all just eats away at people, whether it's out in the open or hidden deep down.
Exactly. Our plan is to really unpack the symbolism, and wow, is there a lot of it, and track how these characters, Hester Prynne, Reverend Dimmesdale, and the truly chilling Roger Chillingworth, how they change throughout the story.
We're essentially looking at a kind of foundational moral crisis in early American society, aren't we?
Absolutely. And Hawthorne, he sets it up instantly. Those opening lines are just incredible.
Yeah, he talks about the colony's earliest practical necessities. And what do they set aside land for first? A cemetery and a prison? Boom.
Right there. That's the framework, isn't it? Death and judgment. That's the Puritan world laid bare.
The description of the jail itself, beetle-browed and gloomy, iron spikes, it feels ancient already, like it's never been young.
And surrounded by these, ugly weeds, burdock, pigweed. Hawthorne actually calls them the black flower of civilized society. It's such a potent image for their harsh, unforgiving system.
But then, right there, literally on the doorstep of this place of doom, you get this amazing contrast.
A wild rosebush.
Yeah, covered in blossoms. Just this splash of, natural beauty against the man-made severity. Critics have been debating that rosebush forever.
And it's our first real clue, isn't it? That nature, with a capital N in Hawthorne, often represents something outside the Puritan code. It offers sympathy, maybe pity, even when the human world doesn't.
He even suggests it might have sprung up where Anne Hutchinson walked someone who defied their religious authority.
Exactly. So you have judgment versus nature, prison versus rose, right from the start. It sets up the whole tension. It's like saying, even in the darkest places, maybe there's a glimmer of something else, some kind of relief.
And that tension just explodes in the very next scene, the big public spectacle.
A ceremony of shame. We're immediately plunged into what you call the Puritan gaze. It's terrifying.
Yeah, the description of the crowd, all these sad-colored garments, the gray hats, conformity.
But he really focuses on the women, doesn't he? He points out their peculiar interest in Hester's punishment. They are described as being much tougher, maybe coarser than later generations.
And louder, too. That boldness and rotundity of speech. They're not just watching, they're actively participating in the shaming. Some even suggest, branding her or worse.
They really embody that collective judgment, that enforcing of the rules, almost eager to see her downfall.
And into the scene walks Hester Prynne. And the way Hawthorne describes her is just striking.
She's tall, elegant, beautiful, dark hair. Carries herself with this incredible dignity, like a lady.
Despite, 1,000 pairs of eyes burning into her.
Right. Her physical presence almost works against the intended effect. She's supposed to look crushed, broken. But her dignity, it makes it tragic, not just pathetic.
And the focal point, of course, the thing that allows her maybe to hold on to that dignity is the letter itself.
The Scarlet A. And it's not just some plain cloth patch. It's fantastically embroidered with gold thread.
Which is just incredible. It's her first real act of defiance. She takes their symbol of shame and makes it intricate, beautiful.
Completely. She's basically saying, I own this. You don't define me by it. The artistry transforms it.
And the crowd's reaction is key, too. Hawthorne says they stay solemn because they haven't grown corrupt enough to smile at her defiance. They're still deadly serious about the sin itself.
Which shows just how rigid that society was. If it had been a death sentence, they'd have watched just as grimly.
But underneath that composed exterior, she's obviously going through hell.
Absolutely. Standing on that scaffold, the sheer weight of all those eyes staring.
Yeah.
It's described as worse than outright insults or jeering would have been.
She'd prepared for scorn. She could have met that with her own bitterness. But the solemn mood of the crowd, this heavy, silent judgment, it's unbearable. Makes her want to scream or faint.
Interestingly, her mind just escapes. It doesn't focus on the present, on the baby, or the magistrates.
No, it floods with memories of her past life in England. Classic Hawthorne technique, right? Using internal thoughts to build suspense.
Yeah, this phantasmagoric recall. She sees her old home, her parents, but then the focus shifts.
To the husband, the scholar.
The pale, thin, scholar-like visage, eyes worn out from reading, and crucially, the physical detail.
The deformity. Slightly deformed, with the left shoulder a trifle higher than the right.
Remembering him right at this moment of ultimate public shame. It's chilling foreshadowing. It tells you so much about him before he even properly appears. Intellectual, obsessive, and marked by this subtle imbalance.
Which Hawthorne uses again and again, doesn't he? That slight physical flaw hinting at something deeper, some spiritual imbalance or decay. It perfectly sets up the introduction of the other key figures.
Right, because the next thing that happens is the demand for the name. Who is the father?
And they push the young brother, Reverend Arthur Dimmesdale, to get it out of her.
He's introduced as pale, sensitive, already looking like he's suffering, and his first reaction actually sounds, well, compassionate.
Yeah, he says it would be wronging her nature to force her secrets out in public. It seems like he's defending her.
But then he's pressured to address her directly. And this is where it gets complicated, and you really have to read between the lines.
He leans over, voice trembling, telling her that revealing the name could be good for her soul, for her salvation.
Okay, but then comes the kicker. He tells her not to stay silent out of mistaken pity and tenderness for him.
Exactly. He basically says, if you keep quiet, you're forcing him to add hypocrisy to his sin. I mean, come on, that sounds like pure cowardice wrapped up in religious language.
You see it as sheer cowardice. I mean, it's definitely self-serving, but maybe it's also genuine conflict. Like, his belief in confession is real, but he just can't face the personal ruin.
But if confession is the only path to God, why not just step up? Instead, he puts it all on her, knowing she loves him and will protect him. He gets to publicly perform his suffering without admitting his sin. That's hypocrisy, plain and simple.
It's definitely hypocrisy.
Right.
And Hawthorne skewers it brilliantly. And just as Dimmesdale finishes his plea, the other silent partner appears.
Roger Chillingworth. Hester sees him in the crowd, standing next to an indigenous person, wearing this bizarre mix of European and savage clothing.
And she recognizes him instantly. The pale, deformed scholar from her memories.
Her reaction is visceral. She clutches Pearl. The baby cries out, her past horror crashing into her present shame.
And Chillingworth's reaction is described so vividly. This writhing horror, like a snake moving across his face, instantly controlled. Then the silent gesture finger to his lips.
That snake image, it's no accident. It signals his transformation, right? He's not just a wronged husband anymore. He's becoming something else.
Cold, calculating vengeance. The control is almost more frightening than if he just exploded in anger. And he tells the townsman, almost muttering it, "He will be known, he will be known." His focus isn't even on Hester anymore.
It's all about finding the hidden partner, which leads perfectly into their confrontation in the prison.
Right. Chillingworth gets access as a physician, the leech. He calms the baby, gets him alone, and the whole dynamic shifts from public spectacle to this intense, private psychological battle.
And he lays out this chilling logic, this balancing of wrong.
Yeah, he actually admits his first wrong was marrying her, his age and decay, betraying her youth. He calls it an unnatural relation.
So, because of his initial mistake, he says he won't seek vengeance against her. The scales are balanced between them, he claims.
But the scales with the unnamed father, that's where his entire being is now focused. He vows to hunt him down like he'd hunt for truth in old books or gold in alchemy.
It's obsessive, intellectualized vengeance. He talks about this sympathy that will reveal the guilty man to him. He'll feel the man shudder, see him tremble. It's like a dark scientific experiment.
And Hester, terrified for Dimmesdale, promises to keep Chillingworth's identity secret. And his final words in that scene, they just seal Dimmesdale's doom.
He bears no letter of infamy, but I shall read it on his heart, not the less he shall be mine.
Yeah. The quest isn't about public justice anymore. It's about secret, internal destruction. Chillingworth has fully become this predatory figure, hunting a hidden shame.
So after she's released from prison, Hester makes this really crucial decision. She could leave Boston, disappear.
But she doesn't. She stays. Hawthorne talks about this sense of fatality, this iron link, binding her to the place where the defining event of her life happened.
It's fascinating. Like, the place itself is now sacred to her suffering, the only place she can work through it. She finds this lonely little cottage on the edge of town, on bad soil nobody else wants.
And she supports herself with her needlework, her incredible skill.
Which is one of the great ironies, isn't it? The society that forces her to wear this mark of shame simultaneously relies on her artistry for its most important occasions. Governor's gloves, funeral shrouds.
Everything except weddings. They draw the line at bridal veils. Can't risk corrupting purity, apparently.
It's such a paradox. They publicly condemn her, but privately consume the product of her skill, the very talent associated with her sin. It totally undermines their own moral stance.
But the biggest change happens inside Hester. In her isolation, she gains this amazing intellectual freedom.
Hawthorne says she develops a freedom of speculation that the Puritans would have seen as even worse than her original crime.
Exactly. Cut off from the community, she starts questioning everything, the structure of society, the roles of men and women, the church's power. She becomes a radical thinker, really, a philosopher born from suffering.
She might have become a kind of prophetess, like Anne Hutchinson, if not for one thing. Pearl. Named because she came at a great price, her mother's only treasure. Hawthorne calls her a beautiful flower growing out of guilty passion.
But she's not just a beautiful child. She's difficult.
Yeah.
Inherits Hester's own warfare of spirit. Wild, defiant, unpredictable. She doesn't fit the Puritan mold because her very existence breaks their rules.
Hester constantly questions what she's brought into the world. Oh, Father in heaven, what is this being?
And Pearl's focus, from infancy, is the Scarlet Letter. It's the first thing she notices, grabs at. Later, she throws flowers at it, always hitting the mark.
It's uncanny. Like she's a living embodiment of the A, a constant walking reminder.
A living conscience. Which is why the town elders eventually decide they need to step in. They argue Pearl might be demonic, or at least needs to be taken away for a proper Christian upbringing.
So Hester goes to Governor Bellingham's mansion to fight for her daughter. And the mansion itself, another symbol of hypocrisy.
Oh yeah, glittering with stucco and broken glass, like Aladdin's palace, not a Puritan leader's home.
And during the confrontation, one of the ministers, Mr. Wilson, tests Pearl on her catechism, asks her, "Who made thee?"
And Pearl gives that infamous answer. She wasn't made, she was plucked by her mother off the wild rose bush by the prison door.
Which is factually wrong, obviously, but symbolically, it's dead on. She did spring from that mix of sin and nature's pity, right where the rose bush grew.
And this is Dimsdale's moment to intervene again. He argues Pearl wasn't sent as punishment, but as a blessing, a way to keep Hester's soul connected to God, to work on her heart.
And Pearl, strangely, seems moved by his passionate defense. She takes his hand, puts her cheek against it, a rare moment of tenderness.
It shows she can connect, especially significantly, with him. It links them.
And that connection becomes crucial because defending Pearl really cements the relationship, or rather the proximity, between Dimsdale and Chillingworth.
Yes, Chillingworth, with his medical knowledge, part old European learning, part knowledge of herbal remedies learned from Native Americans during his captivity, becomes seen as the only hope for the increasingly frail Reverend Dimsdale.
So friends arrange for them to live together in the same house, which is just a horrifying setup.
It gives Chillingworth exactly what he wants, constant access. He can dedicate himself completely to getting inside Dimsdale's head, delving among his principles, prying into his recollections, as Hawthorne puts it.
It's a chilling warning Hawthorne gives. If you have a secret, avoid your doctor's intimacy.
Chillingworth's approach is so methodical, so insidious. He probes Dimsdale's fears, his dreams, all under the guise of treating him. Hawthorne compares him to a miner digging for treasure, but expecting to find only decay.
And people in the town start to notice. The initial admiration for the doctor sours. Rumors spread that he's not a healer, but maybe Satan himself, or an emissary sent to battle for the minister's soul.
They see the growing fear in Dimsdale's eyes. They sense this isn't healing, it's a spiritual war.
And that war comes to a head in the graveyard scene.
Oh, that's intense. Chillingworth is gathering these ugly, dark weeds from an unmarked grave.
And he makes this direct link. He says these weeds grew out of the dead man's heart, symbolizing some hideous secret he died with, something he should have confessed.
He's basically holding up a mirror to Dimsdale's soul, using nature itself as the accusation.
Dimsdale deflects, of course. Says maybe the man wanted to confess but couldn't. It's the closest he comes to admitting his own torment, but he still can't make the leap to actual confession.
And then who bursts in but Pearl?
Always Pearl. She's dancing on the graves, then throws a prickly burr, one of those sticky seed pods, and it hits Dimsdale.
And she yells out, "Come away, mother, or yonder old black man will catch you. He hath got hold of the minister already."
She just cuts right through the pretense. The innocent child sees the demonic reality that the adults are trying to ignore or rationalize.
Dimsdale snaps.
Yeah.
Briefly. When Chillingworth pushes him again about confessing secrets, he lashes out, "Who art thou, that meddlest in this matter?"
He almost reclaims his agency for a second, but then, just as quickly, he collapses back, apologizing, terrified of driving the doctor away.
Because he's become dependent on Chillingworth. Even as he fears him, he's trapped, and his private torment is escalating. Since he can't confess publicly, he turns to secret penances.
Things more like medieval Catholicism than Puritanism. Self-flagellation.
Yeah, Hawthorne says he keeps a bloody scourge hidden away, whipping himself in private, finding some kind of perverse relief in the pain.
Fasting until he can barely stand, holding these night vigils, staring at his own reflection. It's all private agony.
It's his attempt at atonement, but because it's hidden, it doesn't bring any real peace. It just digs him deeper into hypocrisy.
And the contrast with his public image is just stark. He gives these vague sermons about being the worst of sinners.
Which only makes his congregation admire him more. They think he's so holy he's taking on the world's sin, not confessing his own. They call him a saint on earth.
He speaks the truth, vaguely, and they hear it as the exact opposite. It's brilliant psychological torture, orchestrated partly by himself and partly by Chillingworth.
And this psychological war reaches its peak when Chillingworth makes his final, definitive discovery. Dimsdale falls into this unusually deep sleep.
Probably drugged by Chillingworth, let's be honest.
Probably. Chillingworth enters the room, goes to the sleeping minister, and pulls aside the vestment covering his chest, something Dimsdale always kept hidden, even from his doctor.
And Hawthorne just writes, it was revealed. He doesn't explicitly say what Chillingworth saw.
Exactly. Was it a self-carved A? A mark from the scourge? Or just the physical manifestation of his soul's decay? The ambiguity is the point.
But whatever it was, it confirms everything for Chillingworth. His victim is completely marked, completely his.
And Chillingworth's reaction. It's described as this grotesque, fiendish ecstasy, like Satan celebrating a one soul. The intellectual quest is over. The dark transformation is complete. He has achieved total psychological dominance.
This discovery seems to galvanize Hester. She realizes she has to intervene, leading to that crucial meeting in the forest.
Right, a space outside the town's laws where they can be momentarily free. Dimsdale is just broken by this point, completely weak.
And when Hester finally tells him the truth, Chillingworth is her husband, he's crushed, blames her initially.
But Hester, strengthened by years of isolation and thought, refuses to let him despair. She challenges him. Is the world then so narrow? She urges him to escape, run away to Europe, or deeper into the American wilderness, anywhere away from Chillingworth.
And as they decide to flee together, Hester does something incredibly powerful.
She takes off the Scarlet Letter, unclasps it, throws it away among the dead leaves, takes off her cap, lets her hair down.
And immediately, nature reacts. The sunshine, which always seemed to avoid her before, floods the spot. Hawthorne explicitly says nature sympathizes with them.
Her beauty comes back, her vitality. It's like the removal of the symbol allows the real woman to emerge, just for a moment. Always Pearl.
Yeah.
Hester calls her over, but Pearl refuses to cross the little brook that separates them. She just stands there, pointing.
Pointing at her mother's chest where the letter should be. She doesn't recognize her mother without it. Dimsdale even wonders if she's like an elf forbidden to cross running water.
It's heartbreaking. Pearl demands the symbol back. Hester realizes it's part of her identity now, maybe part of her penance. She picks it up, fastens it back on.
And instantly, the sunlight vanishes, the gray shadow returns, her vibrant beauty fades. Redemption can't just be thrown away, it has to be lived through.
And only then does Pearl cross the brook. And she kisses not Hester, but the Scarlet Letter itself, validating its purpose in a way.
So the escape plan is made a ship to Bristol, England, after Dimsdale gives the big election sermon in 3 days.
But the walk back to town, something snaps in Dimsdale. Having made the decision to flee, having tasted that moment of freedom, he's overwhelmed by these wild impulses.
It's almost darkly funny. He wants to teach curse words to kids, share dirty jokes with sailors. It's like the Puritan restraint is completely gone, replaced by this chaotic energy.
He even wonders if he actually met the devil, the black man, in the forest and signed his name in his book.
And who should pop up to seemingly confirm his fears?
Mistress Hibbins, the town's resident suspected witch.
She confronts him, basically lets him know she knows he's been in the forest, hints that he's made a deal with the darkness, recognizes the strange new energy in him. He barely manages to get away from her knowing looks.
The tension just keeps ratcheting up. Election day arrives full of Puritan ceremony. Hester is there, near the scaffold, always the scaffold watching.
And then Chillingworth delivers the final blow to their escape plan. The ship's captain tells Hester that Chillingworth has booked passage too,
Claiming he's a friend of Dimsdale's, part of his group. He finds Hester in the crowd and gives her this chilling, knowing smile. Escape is impossible. He's ensured the torment will continue.
Dimsdale then gives this incredibly powerful sermon, his voice filled with a kind of dying energy. Everyone is moved. But as he comes down, looking frail, almost ghostly, he sees Hester and Pearl near the scaffold.
And he knows. This is it. His last chance. He calls them up onto the scaffold with him, the very place of Hester's original shame 7 years earlier.
Supported by Hester, he turns to the crowd and finally confesses, calls himself the one sinner of the world.
And as he confesses, Chillingworth rushes forward, defeated. "Thou hast escaped me," he cries, because public confession breaks his power.
Then Dimsdale tears open his shirt, revealing whatever mark is on his chest, the ghastly miracle. Again, we don't know exactly what it is, but the crowd sees it. His hidden sin made visible.
He collapses, dying. His last words are to Pearl. "Dear little Pearl, wilt thou kiss me now? Thou wouldst not yonder in the forest, but now thou wilt."
And she kisses him. And Hawthorne writes, "A spell was broken. The kiss, born of his finally acknowledged suffering and her own grief, transforms her. She's no longer just a symbol. She becomes fully human, ready to experience human life."
It's an incredibly powerful, tragic climax, and the aftermath sort of wraps things up neatly, but still leaves you thinking.
Chillingworth, his purpose gone, just withers away, dies within a year. His whole life had become about that vengeance.
And Pearl, in a final strange twist, Chillingworth leaves all his property to her.
The elf child becomes the richest heiress in the New World. She and Hester leave, go to Europe, it seems.
But years later, Hester returns alone. Comes back to the little cottage, to the place of her sin and transformation. She even starts wearing the Scarlet Letter again, voluntarily.
Becomes a counselor almost for other troubled women, finds a kind of peace or at least acceptance.
And when she dies, she's buried near Dimsdale, but with a space between them, suggesting their connection but also their separation. They share a single tombstone.
With that final, stark epitaph. On a field, sable, the letter A, ghouls. Black background, red letter A. Like a coat of arms defined by sin.
It leaves you pondering, doesn't it? Whose path was ultimately better? Hester's open shame, leading to isolation but also strength and wisdom, or Dimsdale's hidden guilt, leading to hypocrisy, self-torture, and destruction.
And what does that A finally mean? Adultery, able, angel, or just ambiguity? Maybe the point is that it means all of those things, and that the hidden truths on our hearts are more real than any public label.
It's a question that stays with you long after you finish the book.
Absolutely. Well, that's about all the time we have to explore the Scarlet Letter today. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion.
We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do like, comment, share it around, subscribe. It all helps keep this book-loving community going.
And definitely come back next week for episode 32. We're shifting gears quite a bit, jumping into a contemporary psychological thriller.
That's right. We'll be talking about Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by McLeod Chapman. Should be very different, but hopefully just as compelling conversation.
Looking forward to it. Until then, happy reading, everyone.